Kwekwe greetings. Kwekwe is Algonquin for hello. Welcome to another video. Not recording from work, but this recording, is just as important as the beautiful surroundings of where my job is. Okay. So tonight I am going to mirror Anna von Reitz. She goes by Anna von Reitz or Anna Reitz or Anna Reitzinger. Yes. And I think most commonly Anna Reitz. And what I want to accomplish with this video is I would like any indigenous American Indians who are watching, I want them to see what they are up against with the American state nationals. I would like our American Indian family to understand that if we keep playing softball with the corporation, we will get shafted hard by the corporation. And what you will see or what you will hear with how Anna is speaking of the corporation will clue us into the type of authority that we must take. Now, again, I said it a few times, Anna is a foreigner. So if a foreigner can step to a corporation the way that Anna is, why would we as American Indians do any less than this foreigner, Anna, who has adopted America as her home, and she's fighting for it as if she's an American Indian? Our fight has to be just as, but preferably more powerful than Anna's fight. So what I would say is we can learn a lot from this, from what she has to say, in order for us to know that we don't go by federal statutes. That is for people who are operating in commerce, taxi drivers, bus drivers, store owners, not for men and women of the land. Men and women of the land have the Continental Constitution that says they have a Bill of Rights. A taxi company has their own version of that, but it has nothing to do with being sovereign and everything to do with being regulated by the corporation. So you know what? We're going to jump into this. I guess I will just let you see Anna in action. Again, I choose her videos randomly. She does not title her videos. So this one is from March 21st of 2023. It's not the latest, but her message is always the same. And it is about understanding what this corporation has done and why it is in breach and why we cannot do business while they are acting outside of their duties, because they will take the authority if we give it to them, because they'll know that we don't know that they are acting outside of their enumerated functions, about 18 or 19 of those. So let's hear, I'm going to share my screen. Let's just mirror Anna's video from that day of March 21st. And we got our speakers all set up, so the sound should be good. And you know what? I'll comment where I think might be helpful. Otherwise, I'm going to let Anna do all the talking. And as Indians, we need to take notes because we don't understand what this corporation has done. We've been dominated so much by it that we really have come to treat it as if it is an authority that it is not. So let's hear what Anna has to say. Hopefully, the message is one where it is pertinent to what we need to hear, and know. And so we ask the ancestors to please step in and make this message one that we can learn from. Thank you. Thank you. And without further ado, here is Anna von Reitz.
Good evening, everyone. This is Terry Psalm, your moderator, checking in on March 20th, 2023. It's the first day of spring, and this is the weekly webinar with Anna von Reitz. We missed everybody last week, but it was much needed time for Anna to recover. And of course, she made good use of it, so I'm sure she will fill us in on all the details. But we're very excited to be here today and always look forward to coming together with you at this time every Monday to learn and grow together, educate and inform together. It's a lot more fun when we do it together. And for those of you who had a chance to correct your status last week, I'd like to be the first to welcome you home to the land and soil jurisdiction. Doesn't it feel good to be here? Absolutely.
So she's speaking of people who have made their declarations to the Fed's Secretary of State in their individual, states and everything. And now they are state nationals. They are no longer United States citizens, which is a status that puts you inside the commerce section of our system, where we're supposed to be in the constitutional aspect of our country. Okay, so let's listen. Got some.
Yes, it does. This is the place to be. This is the only place you want to be. And I say that because we are real men and real women living real lives and reconstructing our real lawful government. We are the only lawful government standing in this country, the only one. It's just mind-boggling to think about sometimes, but it's true. Everybody else out there are incorporated fictions, dead entities.
When you're operating in commerce, you are no longer a man or woman standing on the land. You are in a fictitious jurisdiction, and you are completely dominated by the federal government. Now, when we had our Bill of Rights and our 1787 Constitution, we were men and women of the land. We were Indians and state nationals because there was no such thing as United States citizen. So what Terry here is talking about before she introduces Anna, she's talking about reclaiming the original status that foreigners had on the land for a few years, I think, before they introduced the United States citizen. Well, a few years, maybe the United States citizen was created in I believe it's 1868 or 1865, one of those. So up to that point, Caucasians in America were state nationals of each state that they were in. Okay. And the Indians, they were, they had plans for us, shall we say, I believe they were already calling us, as if we were slaves, when we were the owners of the land. Okay. What the corporation did was confuse us with the uh people of color that they dumped on our land. So while telling the story of those people, they just forgot to mention that that didn't include American Indians. They created the illusion that all of us were of that group that were dumped here by the monarchy, the British monarchy. They're very slick in trading places of people and changing their identities and then telling the story from that point of view. You see? So let's continue. Fair use. We got the stall going on. Why? I don't know. This video is already recorded, so. This one is a long one, okay?
Can be incorporated, can be dissolved. And that's where we're at, is looking at dissolving a whole bunch of corporations.
This is what the state nationals are up to. While we as indigenous are trying to, nuzzy up to the corporation, the state nationals are looking to dissolve them. We are the authority on the land, American Indians. We should be doing as much and more, is what the message is tonight. We can do it. We have the authority. They can't do anything to us. They're not doing anything to these state nationals. No one is talking about them because, of course, the corporation doesn't want the world to know that they've been hijacked by the corporate sea jurisdiction and taken out of their continental constitution and pirated into a territorial constitution or a municipal constitution. Actually, both. Apparently, the monarchy is sharing the spoils with the Roman Catholic Church. They're each just tearing away at us, okay? Especially American Indians, okay? So my message is, listening to Terry here, they'll get their place before we do if we keep playing with this corporation. That's why my videos, you hear me talking so much about this damn corporation. No one sees it for what it is except these state nationals, it seems. We don't have to take their mess. Especially, see, the idea is, listen to how these women will talk about this corporation. And as American Indian, when you find yourself, as I've seen on some channels where the USC code says da 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 da. No, sweetie, no. Those codes don't apply to you. You're an indigenous. In fact, you get to say if those codes should even be. That's how much power we have. But we see the American state nationals are dissolving corporations while we try to, make deals with them. There's no deal making with criminals. They're going to continue frauding if we allow them. If we come to them like they're the authority, they know how to play that role very well. So but I did say that the chief of our tribe has suggested that we need to take over those seats, and I agree. However, we're going to need to clean house. That's what they're not going to like that part. They're not going to like that part at all. But we have that authority. This is our land. You can't come on our land and make up rules and laws and statutes that go against us as American Indians. So you've already reclassified us. So when we come in, you're going to clean the house. We're going to get this house clean. You're going to you're not going to be meeting every day because apparently your guidelines suggest that you meet at least once a year. So all you people warming seats in Congress, you're going to have to get a job, a real job, one where you are not allowed to have such sweeping, illegal, unlawful control. You might have to go be a teacher or something, but that's when we're going to dissolve your public school system because that was unconstitutional. We didn't give you in your 18 or 19 enumerated functions, you weren't supposed to establish public schools. So yeah, a whole overhaul. Y'all are not going to like it at all. In fact, some of y'all might just want to go back to your native lands and pop that bullshit over there. Yeah, play boss in your own neck of the woods. Okay, because the Indians rule this house, American Indians. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, we got that.
Well, let me do a quick screen share here because I'd like to remind everybody that we're still on this big push to raise $200,000. And so you can send checks or money orders to this address, Anna Maria Reisinger, care of P.O. Box 520994. And that is in Big Lake, Alaska. And the postal code is 99652. Now, if you do send a check or money order, leave the to field blank so that Anna would be able to fill it out to the people who need it the most. And so they would be able to just take it and put the money to good use right away rather than having to deposit it into an account and then pull the money back out and give it to whomever or write another check, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's also the opportunity to send stamps to this P.O. box, other pieces of the puzzle that you think are pertinent, and things like old veterans newsletters or old papers from when someone served in a particular organization. Lots and lots of things could help put another important piece of the puzzle together. So feel free to send all of that to the P.O. box in Big Lake. And then the other option is Cash App, and this is $, capital A and N-A, capital R-E-I-Z-E. And this is very handy because it allows Anna to, again, quickly distribute funds. And that's sometimes just half the battle is not only having the fundraising occur, but then getting it to the locations that it needs to, because she's got teams all over the world who are working on solving the issues, putting the pressure on, holding the Crown Corporation and the Pope's feet to the fire, the Lord Mayor of London. And so lots of work is being done all over the world. The
Crown Corporation. Now, who might that be? What royals do we know today, right? That's their corporation, right? As well as what she said, the Church of Rome. Okay, so this is who started the drama in North America. it was the British monarchy. Okay. So the state nationals, they are aware of who brought the corporation to our land, who is responsible for everything that happened thereafter, including the misclassification of American Indians. Now, Anna does not address that. That is our job as American Indians. She might not know all about that. But again, that's not her fight, you know. But what she is doing, it is for all Americans. She's made that, you know, pretty clear. It's whatever race they are. She's taken us back to the Continental Constitution. Okay? So it's not a race thing with Anna. But for us as American Indians, it is about our birthright, and only we can speak to that. So Anna, I've listened to her for a while now, and I don't hear that she understands what has happened to the American Indian. I think she does basically go with the narrative of the out of slaves from Africa thing. Okay. But we ourselves could educate Anna, right? On that. So, so anyway, let's continue. Any day now. Any day now. Any day now.
Single day. And it's amazing to think about, but of course, this is what has happened in America has happened in just about every other country in the world. And it's a cookie cutter. They did the same fraud. They laid the fraud down in the same way. And so it's important to remember that we all need to do our part to call out the fraud and bring our world back into balance.
Yes, American Indians.
So I'm going to stop screen sharing here, and I'll go to our third option, which is here. And we want to go to TASA, the American States Assembly, actually .net, yep, to our homepage of the American States Assembly website. And so the third option is to click here to donate to the restoration. And this will take you to the donation page. And then you'll type the amount of the donation. And the more you can give at this time, the better, because we are doing that push on the $200,000 for getting to Rome and then transporting back assets from Rome. And it has to be done with very careful packing and transportation with security, et cetera, et cetera. You'll want to put your name and then the state for the donation. And then you can type a little message.
Apologies.
And then once you click submit, it will take you to the next page where
what I really wanted to do. Sorry, I hope I didn't interrupt her dialogue. What I wanted to say was, this is not the most recent video, and in the most recent video, the trip to Rome was scrapped. Apparently the Pope is very ill. How convenient, right? But the trip to Rome was canceled, and she's attacking this in a different way now. She realized, I saw some of the last video, and she realized it really wasn't economically, well, it wasn't a good time to be going to making this trip to Rome, and she gave reasons why. Uh, namely that this man has now taken ill again. How convenient. She's coming to collect apparently items that belong to America, you know, from the Roman Catholic Church. How I know for a fact now, when I first heard this, I wasn't really aware, but she, since this video, I've heard her say, the Pope is very ill. And then, so I took note of that, but I was thinking to myself, well, that's strange, and I'm still, I still keep my wits about me. I try to. And for a minute, I wondered, well, that's odd. Why is she suddenly not going? But a good friend of mine vouched, and he knew nothing about Anna's trip. He knows, nothing about these dealings. And out of the blue, he tells me, "Did you hear about the Pope?" And that's when I realized, so Anna once again was speaking truth. I thought maybe, I just found it funny that all of a sudden she wasn't going, but then someone who doesn't know anything about Anna he vouched that, I don't really watch the news. I just don't. I can't. Uh, I don't have time for that nonsense. So it would have been a friend, or would have to have been someone who watches the news to tell me this, because I don't, So that it turned out to be, that was the case. He was in no condition, you know, to have a guest, and so it didn't happen. And Anna just, from what I recall, she realized maybe it's not even necessary, to spend that kind of money. So, so yeah, I just want to update, because I did hear, you know, her video since this, okay, since this recording. Fair use.
It'll be your shopping cart. If you have an account set up, then all you need to do is click on checkout and you will be done. And if you want, you can create a new account, or you can log into an existing account. If you're going to be donating regularly, weekly, monthly, etc., I would suggest that you do an account, because then you'll save some steps. And on top of it, it'll be a quicker and easier process for you. Just a reminder about our products in our store. We've got documents, copies of documents, Declaration of Independence, constitutions, Northwest Ordinance. We also have lots of different flags: the desk flag, the mini flag, the flag sticker, the car flag, the flag pin, flag patch. We've got the books, Blood Money, and You Know Something Is Wrong When. We have our Lawful Money bank stamp to redeem your money on the back of your check and lawful money. We have the property Z-tag sign. We have the flag cap, the flag t-shirt, the Rat Watch t-shirt, and also large flags for indoor or outdoor. And of course, the mop and bucket, because we have a ton of cleanup to do. And in addition, we also have the training courses, The new ones, we have our standard Sign in America training course, which teaches you all about the jurisdictions and will be required for the vendor card. But we have America's Some Assembly Required. This is based on Anna's book, and it's just comprised of small focused modules that are focused topics either on jurisdictions or history, etc. And so there will be about 47 modules in this training, and then a quick test after each module. And then our fundamental universal self-governance training. This is the foundational training, and we are continuing to build on that. And so this is a video training, and you'll watch the video and then take a little test. And I believe that there's 4 modules for that. So in addition to the training, we also have the new American Business Directory. This is for private businesses only, for people who are either an American state national or an American state citizen who have corrected their status and taken their business private or are starting a new private business. And so it looks like Anna's going to be joining us here. We will go ahead and there she is. Hello, dear Anna. And hi, Shannon. Thanks for
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for your always able assistance. Yay! Everybody missed you so much. I don't know. It's up to you.
I am on it.
There we go. Can you hear me okay, Anna?
Hell broke it.
I'm not
It's turned up.
sure.
Having a heart attack as usual.
Can you hear me?
That's not for speaking and recording. It's picking us up there.
I can hear you. I hear you. But you can't hear me?
Okay, back.
Do you have more than one window open?
What in the fine monkey fuck is going on here?
Allow apps and windows to use this device for.
It's already set to allow.
Do you have more than one
Working
window?
on some technical problems. Give us a moment.
Okay.
Am I hooked again? I got it. You stay.
It's on the back. Always on the back.
It's always on the back. Oh, we love technical problems.
Burger.
Something like.
Hello.
I hear you.
Okay, give a tug on. Let's see, let me find the right wire.
As I said, we just picked a video pretty
Okay, so that
randomly, so happened that this time they were having technical difficulties, but they will be doing the show. It runs about 2.5 hours. We'll see if we get through the whole thing, or we'll cut it short.
Let's cover. Here was the audio go for this bad boy.
Just even onto the screen that allows you to set.
Yes, I went there first. That was my first attempt.
Well, I'm going to vacate so you can work on it.
Okay,
Gary,
see if we can jump ahead.
you what?
Let's see if we.
Oh, okay, we're not hearing you. Okay,
We're working on it.
okay, we're working on it. We're fixing the wrong thing, maybe.
Just check to make sure that there's only one WebEx window open because.
Ah,
Yeah, because if you did a test earlier and you haven't closed out, that's still got the microphone and.
Well, part of the problem was in signing on, they have some new questions at the beginning, and we may have
Let's
ended up
jump
signing
ahead
on.
if we can. We're gonna jump ahead. I should have did that. I didn't realize it really was a kind of a big issue they were having. So we jumped ahead and now we gotta wait for the film or whatever to catch up. Sorry about that, but
We are ready.
we are ready.
We're in business.
We're in business.
Yeah.
What you said in,
Okay. Well, dear Anna, it's so nice to see you. We all missed you greatly. And I hope you felt all the love and all the prayers and all the healing energy that everybody was sending.
Well, it has been a very interesting 10 days. I have had the opportunity, basically, that I never have, which is simply to rest and think and, poke my nose into whatever I had energy to poke my nose into. And I used the time very profitably to review things that happened circa 1900. I'm going to post a audio video that was produced in Australia by my friend Romley Stewart.
Oh,
And of course, everybody has over time heard about the Australian efforts that have kept pace with ours. And this past week, Romley had actually gone in depth into the issue of Terra Australis versus Australia versus Commonwealth of Australia, and the way that the corporations had set up these little enclaves, administrative enclaves, and usurped against the actual lawful government in Australia, very similar to what happened here. And what happened here, in order to understand what happened here, you have to go back to the same time period and a series of Supreme Court cases known as the Insular Tariff cases. And it's a whole series of cases that were decided between 1900 and 1904. And it was basically about whether corporations that were created as U.S. possessions were independent entities, and who owed what in taxes and that sort of thing. There are Downs versus Bidwell and Hooven and Allison versus Evat are two of the most important cases. And at the time it was being decided and discussed, Justice Harlan said this would be a cause of mischief, because he could see how the corporations would use it to usurp against the lawful government, and would then allow these corporations, these commercial corporations, to gain undue influence on the government and on the Congress specifically. And this is how they did it. Exactly what he foresaw. And now Australia has uncovered its history, and it's the same thing, where they set up an administrative enclave. And in their case, it was on Norfolk Island. In our case, it was Puerto Rico. And they're still at the same business. They're still trying to get away with it. They are targeting China. And they've set up their administrative hub for the same kind of nefarious activity in the Mariana Islands, which is what they're intending to use as their hub to take over China and, you know, force the Chinese people to pay them bogus taxes and you know, promote a China incorporated enclave. But anyway, we now know how they did it. And the really fine part of it is that it is so outrageously illegal. It is so completely 100% beyond the pale against international law and against the treaties of Vienna that they've left themselves with no in or out. They have no authority. They have no basis of authority. And the upshot of all of this is that Britain has been caught finally with its little paws in the cookie jar to such an extent that nobody can deny it anymore. And, you know, as a result, the banks are going crazy. What you're seeing is not so much bank failure as bank self-destruction, because they want to shield their own funding, their own funds, and so they're basically going in and stripping the assets out of the banks.
Well, it's my understanding that they've been insolvent since 1933. And so they don't really have assets, as all they have is liabilities.
Right, all they have is liabilities, except that for the depositors, on the depositor side of it, they want to get their money out, see? And then the bank can be bankrupted.
I see.
And that's what you're saying, are all these depositors that are trying to get their money out of these banks because they suddenly realize, oh, yeah, I talked about this before so many times, but when they have been advertising home loans, the irony of it is that they've been advertising to get you to give them your home to use as an asset to generate money that they can then, you know, create out of thin air. And the whole thing is just outrageous. And the fact that it's gone on this long is doubly outrageous. Now, I know that there are quite a few people who can't believe that our military would allow this, but our military has been at ground zero of all of this since 1863. And the failure of our military to protect us and protect our assets is a foundational part of this. At the same time, the Federal Civil Service has done no better. Both the Federal Civil Service and the military have failed to protect us, their employers, and they have acted treasonously for a long period of time. So I'm sorry for all those that have been dedicated members of the military. I'm sorry for those that, you know, worked for the Department of Justice or who worked for the FBI or CIA or any of these other alphabet soup agencies and thought that they were doing something wonderful and patriotic and blah, 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 when in effect, all that's been happening here is a bunch of commercial corporations stealing and pillaging under color of law.
Commercial
For a
corporation.
very long time.
Yes.
like the government.
Now, people have been asking me, well, if I had to give, say, a final word, the Romans have a process by which they overcame other countries, other nations, by causing that other nation to forget
To forget
who it was or
who it
who
was
they were.
or who they were. American Indians?
So job one for all of us is to remember who and what we are.
Yes.
Because if we do not recall who and what we are, it leaves the door wide open for any kind of speculation. And we have a situation such as we have here in this country, where these courts have set themselves up and decided, well, we're going to discern, your political status and who you are, and whether you're an enemy and all this other stuff. It's just going to be determined because we apparently forgot who we were.
Yep. Now American Indians know this.
And this is what the Romans have done throughout history.
And as we know, the
So they
Romans
just applied the same old thing.
were Moors.
And we remembered, thank God.
Thank God.
But that is job one, is to remember who you are and what you are. One of the chief things that we should always remember is that people are land assets. And so land is what they're always trying to steal. And you can see why, because all the actual wealth of the earth is represented first, last, and always as land and soil. And that also includes living people. So these people that have been intent on enslaving and impersonating and stealing from us have been actually bent on stealing the land. And it's always the same story. It's been the same story for hundreds upon hundreds of years. And it's always the same bunch of liars, hypocrites, and thieves that put on a show. They impersonate legitimate offices of government. They insinuate themselves and they put themselves in positions of power by a process of assumption. They actually have no authority. Now, the curious part of all of this is that the military is supposed to be protecting us. This is a result of the fact that the military has been occupying this country since 1863.
Occupying.
We've been occupied by our own military. And the military is supposed to be protecting the civilian population. In fact, the Judge Advocate General's Corps and the Provost Marshals and the JAG officers are supposed to be arresting these judges and various actors like the FBI when the FBI gets out of hand. They're supposed to be arresting these people, rounding them up, throwing them in jail.
It's not happening.
Well, and we have to make it happen. We have to make enough people aware so that it's no longer possible for them to dodge their obligations to us.
And you've also mentioned that the Army has a role in this as well.
Specifically, the U.S. Army was left in charge of the money by Lincoln. And even though Lincoln did not have the authority to pull off what he established, they nonetheless have continued to occupy that position ever since. One of the things that we were talking about earlier today is that we take corporations for granted. We have grown up in a world where corporations are very familiar to us. But 150 years ago, there were very few corporations. And there were many discussions, a lot of concern on the part of individuals alive at that point, how we would control corporations so that corporations could not then prey upon the living people. And here's another thing that we all need to remember always, besides the fact that we're land assets, we need to remember that corporations do not have a right to exist. Living people have a right to exist by their nature. Corporations have no such right to exist. And at the time that corporations were allowed, then there were established agreements under ecclesiastical law that corporations must function lawfully. If they do not function lawfully, they can be liquidated for cause. And so it's under the ecclesiastical law that we maintain control over the corporations.
We,
Now, the World Economic
American
Forum
Indians,
and some of these other yahoos that think
highest
they're going to
authority.
play hard and rough with the living people, and they're going to, hire a bunch of thugs to create a DOD kill box, and they're going to get away with this. Need to have their legs just absolutely knocked right under them. And that means liquidation of the corporations.
Liquidation.
Now, it's a very simple business. We bring our complaint. We demand their dissolution. And I believe that the very first one that should go is Department of Defense.
This is what American Indians
Because
have the
they're
authority
abused
to do.
by evil men to create evil, to create violence, to commit genocide, and they're too stupid to stand up and do anything about it themselves.
Who's getting genocided, Indians?
I'm sorry, but that's the bottom line. When you have officers who are trained to take orders and who have no concept of a moral conscience beyond just obeying whatever order is given to them by whomever, whether or not that individual has any valid authority or not. Well, folks, I'm sorry. We simply have to do this. We have to destroy these corporations, and we have to get rid of all these agencies. We have to get rid of the FBI, and we have to buck everything back down to the level of the individual branches of the military service. Now, some of you have read about 6 Marines who were picked up by FBI, Federal Civil Service agents, and who were allegedly kept at a terrible institution, an ersatz prison on Long Island, and tortured, presumably for the quote-unquote crime of being present at the January 6th protests at the quote-unquote U.S. Capitol. We are in the process of dismantling everything about the U.S. Capitol. The members of the Congress who have volunteered their services need to serve. And if they don't serve, they need to clear out.
This is exactly what I was talking about. When we American Indians replace the people that Anna is talking about that need to leave, we need to get our house in order. We will once again be serving American Indians. And hopefully, we American Indians will see what an asset someone like Anna actually is to us. When I think about how we fought the Revolutionary War, it was the spirit like this of Anna that we joined forces with to help steer our nation away from the British monarchy. I think Anna is a priceless asset to American Indians. And I was talking to a friend today, and I was griping on why can't American Indians know what Anna knows? You know, why can't we speak like Anna speaks? But the ancestors kind of whispered to me, and they said, well, this is part of what I think they were trying to say. What I think I heard was this was divine poetic justice. Now, people like Anna were, meaning Caucasian people like Anna were supposed to be the very tools that erased American Indians from the face of the earth. So there is a poetic justice in the fact that this same type of individual is now basically going to be the exact instrument that begins the takedown of this unlawful, illegal corporate entity that has just wreaked the most havoc on the American Indians. And we understand now why American Indians are seen as such a threat to this corporation. They know the authority that we would have if we were in our right minds and in our right status. This is why they can't stand, quote unquote, African Americans, because they know that we are the American Indians. That's why they reclassified us. This is a wicked corporation created by the monarchy that came to our shores with this corporate model, which is, as we said before, not much more than a slave maker. Instant slave maker. It creeps into your, even if you have a constitution, it finds a way to usurp your constitution and replace it. And then it changes you from free men and women and American Indians into United States citizens. So now you're a product of the corporation. Before that, you were just mentioned, and you were not a creation of the corporation. They were basically an entity that was contracted by you, the man and woman of the land. Once they stopped addressing you as Indians, then you became, first you became a slave, the whole narrative about slaves. And then you were given United States citizenship. So this is the corporate model and what it does. It takes over, and it nullifies, voids the living people of the land as if they were dead, lost at sea, so that it can run your affairs and make all the money you would be making if you were in control of your own commerce. It is time for this entity to, as Anna puts it, be completely dissolved. It's like the Wicked Witch, completely dissolved, till there's nothing left but American Indians and the people like Anna who fight for the contract that we made, which was the 1787 Continental Constitution. We don't want a territorial constitution. That belongs to Britain. We don't want a municipal constitution. That is for the Vatican, or creation of the Vatican so that they can pull rank. Just like the crown, the monarchy, British monarchy pulls rank with the territorial constitution. We need to remind them that we had one for the people of America. That, again, that would be the American Indians as the supreme sovereigns, and those immigrants who stand for the American way. Hey, hey, let us continue fair use.
It's as simple as that. Now, I know they don't like to hear this, but it's true. They have participated in a sham. They have usurped against the lawful government of this country. They have assumed authorities that nobody ever granted them.
The
They
enumerated
have
function.
failed the people of this country in a grotesque way. And they either get with the program and start cleaning this mess up, or they become part of the problem. I have no qualms whatsoever with destroying all the members of the World Economic Forum. More than 4,000 of the world's largest corporations. I have no problem whatsoever just drawing a line through them.
This is what we
And nobody should have any
should be doing.
bad feeling about that. Everybody concerned should realize that things have gotten just totally out of hand. It's been out of hand for a long, long time. And now we are down to the push and the shove of cleaning this up. It has to be done. It has to be done now. And there's nobody here to do it but us.
And American Indians.
And that goes for Australia and Canada and America. I have, as you can see, we have a large amount of money that belongs to us. We have large amounts of land that belongs to us. On top of which, we have our most sacred land right here that belongs to us. All these people like Bill Gates, we need wanted posters. Wanted dead or alive. They're to be picked up. They're to be taken to any convenient military post and turned over to the military officials. The military has the power to set up military tribunals. 3 officers make a tribunal. Anyone caught promoting genocide, anyone caught promoting bio warfare, anyone caught trying to undermine the basis of this country is to be treated as a traitor, guilty of treason, and summary judgment. So I've gone back all the way through it. I've gone through the history of the Civil War. I have gone through the documents. I've gone through everything that happened during the insular tariff cases. I've compared that with what happened in Canada, compared that with what happened in Australia. And I must point out to everyone that the seminal problem is Great Britain.
Great Britain.
The place where all of this actually spun out of control began in 1840, when Queen Victoria married Prince Albert. Now, the British have had a long history of problems anyway. I mean, technically, if you want to go all the way back, they have not had a monarchy since William the Conqueror put an end to the British monarchy. As of 1087 AD, there has been no such thing as a British monarch. However, there has been an overseer of Commonwealth lands employed by the popes. And that person has, over time, created a fictional world in which they are the king or the queen, while the British people have slept on and failed to take note of actual history. Now, when you bring this up to the Brits, the dons at Oxford will look at each other like so many scared rabbits, and they will kind of tussle off into the corner and go. And I'm sure that the Privy Council has the same reaction, because it's supposed to be this big secret that they have no monarch and that they have no authority based on a monarchy, and that the only vestiges of a monarchy left are all the various little fiefdoms that were bequeathed to the French nobles, and there are still some of them in existence. There are still Plantagenets. There are still Talbots. There are numerous other families, Nevilles and so forth, and they are all French. So, to the extent that there is some sort of British nobility or British kings alive in Britain, they are the progeny of the conquest. And once again, we have a situation in Britain where the actual power of the government was usurped. And so while they were overcome, then all these other countries that were allied with them were overcome in the same manner, the same deceits, the same evil and despicable actions of the British Crown. Because when you get right down to it, the problem is not Britain or the people of Britain. The problem is the lack of government. They've substituted a commercial corporation as the government. And so the British Crown has taken over and has ruled as a pirate organization throughout the world, and in violation of the treaties of Vienna and in violation of international law.
It's actually the British Crown Corporation, right? Yeah.
Right. And so everybody is looking around and going, well, who's at fault? Well, I guess we're all at fault. let's all take a share of the blame and go forward and clean it up. I mean, there's no point in pointing fingers and everybody saying, oh, well, it's the fault of the FBI, or it's the fault of the Department of Justice, or it's the fault of the U.S. Marshal Service, or it's the fault of the Judge Advocate General, or it's the fault of the United Nations, or blah, 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 blah. There's more than enough blame to go around. What we have to do is clean it up, and do so forthrightly and quickly. By cleaning it up, I don't suggest that means to hide anything anymore. There's been too many secrets kept, too much of this idea that there was some sort of national security interest to be served by this secrecy, when in fact, all it was doing was covering the skirts of the criminals who were benefiting themselves at the expense of everyone else. So it's onward and upward time. And the thrust of this must be brought forward as a decided effort to liquidate the offending corporations, to promote understanding of the members of the governments per se, and to forge forward with a new plan and a new way of organizing and being as we go forward, because all of these institutions are rotten to the core. There is no redeeming value to be had in a Congress that lacks authority. There's nothing to be saved from a Privy Council that is betraying the British people. And there is nothing to be gained by anyone on earth to put up with the WEF and the members of the United Nations Corporation, which is a first and foremost to be destroyed. Now, the United Nations has been struggling under the impression that it has secured a status as an independent international city-state, and that it was given land in New York for this purpose. And the fact is that those people who pretended to have land to give to them were not the actual owners of anything. So the United Nations is not an independent international city-state. The land that its offices sit upon belongs to New York, not New York City, not State of New York, none of it. So they've been informed that no, they do not have an international independent city-state. Now that is job one. Job two is to give the rats, the vermin responsible for this situation, no place left to hide. Now they have succeeded in doing this for centuries because they could always sail over the horizon. They could get in their boats and they could go over the horizon and set up shop in some remote part of the world, and they could just keep on parasitizing, pillaging, carrying on their acts of inland piracy, and nobody would catch them at it. But they finally run out of space. If we don't get them in the Western world, we now have agreements with the Chinese to make sure that the Chinese will get them in the East. East and West come together. and their doom is assured. Now, I have announced to the world some very unusual things, one of which is the fact that the Bar Association is a theater company. Can anyone tell me why anyone should give the Bar Association any credibility whatsoever?
No,
And why should we continue to have these quote-unquote district courts functioning on our state land?
no,
It is the responsibility of the military to remove these courts.
yep, they're directly responsible for them.
Yes, they are. And they have been directly responsible for them since 1865. The Judge Advocate General is to be held accountable. And we all have the obligation to make sure that the members of the Congress that are responsible for this are fully informed. The Judge Advocate General is supposed to be kicking butt over the Department of Justice, and instead it's been the Department of Justice leading the Judge Advocate Generals around like bulls with little rings in their noses. Well, it's high time, folks, that we exercised our authority and forced the issue upon the military and brought the entire matter to a head, because this is pure, unadulterated piracy, inland piracy. And the people that we're paying to protect us have instead been preying upon us and allowing these other yahoos to cause us no end of trouble, no end of loss, no end of confiscation, illegal confiscation of private property assets, every kind of fraud, every kind of nastiness has been allowed. And the members of that Congress who have stepped forward as volunteers need to be held feet first to the fire. I mean feet first to the fire. The municipality of Washington, D.C. needs to be vacated permanently. They were given a very small enclave with which to operate. It was sufficient for anything they needed to do, and they have trespassed against the people and the states in the most it's difficult for me to even talk about the degree of breach of trust and contract that these individuals have indulged in, and now think that they have a right to create all of this trouble for everybody else. These January 6th, the entire bogus bullshit of the January 6th issue, they all need to be brought out in the streets and hung. The municipality of Washington, D.C. is supposed to be a plenary government with a very simple rule, a role. The only thing it's supposed to do is to provide a neutral space for people from all of the different states to be able to meet on common ground. And instead, they've turned it into their own little international city-state, which was never, ever allowed. There's nothing in any of the constitutions allowing them to do that. And those members of the Congress who have done this have done so in treason
treason.
So it's time for people to make their decisions. It's time for the members of the Congress to make their decisions. You know, are they going to stand up for this country and act as volunteers, with honorable volunteers? Are they going to take hold of the situation? Are they going to clean up the act? Are they going to get rid of all of these various unelected organizations, agencies that have been harming the people of this country, or not? Now they are acting as the board of directors of a corporation. I hold them fully liable and accountable for any misadministration, violence, genocide, or misbehavior, any kind of failure to honor the constitutional contracts. I hold them, each and every one of them, accountable for it. They need to know that we all are holding them accountable. Now, what we have to do is as simple and as difficult as speaking. We need to bring forward the facts, and we need to bring them forward with great force and alacrity. It's time for the district courts to be removed from the states of the Union. It's time for the federal civil service to be pared down and all of these agencies sent home.
You heard it.
There are more than 350 different agencies on the public dole,
And it's supposed to be 19.
and they are doing nothing but cause trouble. And we're paying for it. If that does not offend you, it certainly should. When we have members of the FBI going around arresting people, including service members, and having little torture facilities on Long Island and other places, it's time that we all got our little pushes in order and started the process of liquidating the federal bureaucracy. Well, you all know that we are bringing the complaints under ecclesiastical law against corporations. I suggest that those who are members of the bar associations, who were unaware of the nature of the bar association that they were joining as young people, need to pull together and clean up their own mess, because there is nothing more certain than the fact that if they don't clean up their own mess, they're going to have a backlash of such severity that there will never be a legal profession again. It will be wiped from the annals of our world history, and we will never have any kind of situation like this again.
All right now.
So every member who is a member of the bar, be advised, the Bar Association is a theater and entertainment company. Members of the military, be advised, the Bar Association and its membership, a theater. They have no authority. They have no business addressing anybody about anything. And if they trespass against the people of this country, they are subject to immediate deportation. And if they're caught creating problems for the people of this country, they are subject to arrest. And yes, they can be tried by any military tribunal of 3 commissioned officers.
Oh.
Now, I'm pleased that the living people of this planet have joined together with a single determination to get rid of this problem once and for all.
Get rid of.
I'm glad that the Chinese are awake and in agreement, so that the vermin who are responsible for all of this will not be able to sail over the horizon. The Chinese will get them if we don't. And it is high time that all of this is brought forward and laid bare so that everybody knows who everybody is, how this happened, what's to happen going forward. I wish it were better.
I'm going to take a pause and be right back. We're back. Just to speak a little bit again on the subject, which is we're listening to Anna von Reitz, excuse me, who has pretty much, it seems single-handedly created a movement based on taking Americans back to the original Constitution in which they were sovereigns on the land, men and women sovereign, who were either American Indians or the free persons mentioned in the original Continental Constitution. So I think what I might have to title this video is American Indians. Are we going to let the foreigners take leader position on the land by not taking note of what they're doing, with the realization that everything they're doing, we have a birthright authority to do. So as Anna talks about dissolving unlawful corporations, and she did speak to what we mentioned briefly in another video, the fact that the United Nations, they are on New York State land, you know? And so if they're basically the logic is if they're an unlawful corporation, they shall be done away with. And they are. She speaks about people like Mr. Gates, who is basically running a genocide mission. How? Who gave you that authority in a land where we have a constitution that protects us in terms of making us sovereigns? Who are you to come here and proceed to do your little genocide mission? Well, we know who you have to be working for, but it's a pretty bold that's how it gets when a corporation seizes control. And they know damn well that what the Constitution said, but if they can get us to sidestep our own Constitution on a fast ride to hell, they have no problem doing that. Well, it doesn't seem like they're acting and under any benevolent God's unction. If you're out to pillage and steal, you can't say God is your authority. But that's what ends up happening when you get the Church of Rome involved. So now you show us who you really serve. You wouldn't be stealing from the people to fatten your pockets. For who? God? He doesn't need to steal the wealth of Americans. But who would? So anyway, we're going to continue. And American Indians, I just hope as we watch this, we see where we need to be. We can't be cowering to the very organization now that they've come down the hardest on us, but Anna's fighting back the hardest. Well, we have more of that angst to get out, by wanting, demanding to clean up that Congress and send them, as Anna said, basically what I said was, I was kind of criticized by a young panel member. How do you want to send them packing? Why would you want to do that? Well, listen and learn, son. Listen and learn. So let us continue. Fair use.
I wish that our situation were anything like what we were taught as children. I wish that the people that we put our trust in had been in the least little bit honorable, but they have not.
Not at all. And they've just continued to get more brazen and more bold about their criminality and thievery and chicanery.
So, blow the trumpets, wave the peace flag.
That's a peace flag behind them.
And get ready.
The one we know is a war flag. We're in a constant state of war.
And if anybody says anything about sovereign citizens, bust them in the chops.
We're not sovereign citizens. Just sovereign.
We, the people, are the owners of this country, lock, stock, and barrel.
American Indians,
And if
did
anyone
you hear
wants
that?
to say otherwise, anyone wants to take title, anyone wants to make any pretensions whatsoever otherwise, then they can meet me in the field of battle. The fact of the matter is that they have no authority. They have no business being here. They have no ability to address us.
American
They are
Indians, do you hear
false
that?
servants,
False servants,
dishonorable criminals,
dishonorable criminals.
and they have no right whatsoever to be here.
No right. We have nothing to do with their
So they either
authority,
do their job
which is built, none,
or
do their job.
it's time for this country to clean house. And I do mean clean house. At the level of the towns, at the county level, at every level. We will continue our effort internationally to put an end to it and to put an end to those corporations that have offered to commit genocide and infanticide and so many other vile crimes. We will continue to cut away at the inroads that the UN corporation has made. We will continue to expose the UN corporation as the Nazi organization that it is. We will continue to expose the British government for its absolutely mind-boggling lack of honor and lack of accountability to their own people, to say nothing of the rest of the world. Yep.
This is called high level correction. Nowhere in this woman's mouth is there talk about we have to go by this federal code or that regulation. She's talking about, what the hell are you talking about when you mention federal codes and statutes? She's saying they don't apply. And she's taken the authority to clean house. But American Indians, this is our house. Are we gonna watch Anna, basically do what we have the authority to do? Because I think if we do stand back and let her do all of this, I think we get lost in the sauce again. Everything she's saying, American Indians have exponential multiplied authority to do on this land. Once we tell America, this corporation, who we are, it shouldn't be about, can you recognize me? No, It's about you got to go. What you've done is beyond criminal. With American Indians, they're the last entity that we should feel a need we have to work with. There's nothing to work with. It's criminal. We will be complicit in a crime, in fraud, if we think that we should work with them. We got to clean them up off this land. That's what we got to do. And I really think that we could learn so much about our authority just by hearing the authority that an immigrant takes due to the power of the Constitution we gave the corporation that they found their way to wiggle out of. That's why in my last video, I just felt so good because I realized we do have such a bright future once we understand who we are on this land. And it wouldn't be no thing for us to even perhaps consider joining forces with the state nationals as we did when we had the Revolutionary War. To take our country back once again, this time for real. The first time, I don't know, they caught us with our pants down or something. We forgot what our Constitution was about. And they were running the show. We let Lincoln proceed without a full and proper Congress until he was seen as the president when he really was not. Anna has spoken about. He wasn't a constitutional president. He created a new corporation. He bankrupted the old one and incorporated a new one. So this man who's known as the emancipator, probably the worst thing that happened, because from his point on, we have an unlawful corporate entity that said, oh, the South, you're not being part of it. Okay, we'll go on without you. Wasn't supposed to do that. Wasn't supposed to do that. Let us continue. Fair use.
Nobody should ever want to do business with them ever again. Anyone looking at what they've done should realize that this well and truly has been a criminal empire. And there is no such thing as the glory of England. If England has any glory left in it, this is the moment for the British people to stand up and kick ass. And if they don't, then it's their problem forever afterward.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what, listen to how Anna addresses a monarchy. This lady she's not playing. She is not playing. And again, I just have to keep saying, if she can stand up like this, certainly the landlords, the birthright holders can do even more with the power that they have, the power that we have as American Indians. I just feel the ancestors uh put this lady in my path because I would not I don't know where I would have gotten the sense of authority that, you know, I have learned to engender since hearing her speak and reading her book. Uh it is the very, I don't know, I want to say emancipation of the nation to hear someone speak and know that this government has acted against the Constitution, unlawfully, treasonous. So this last few minutes is an example of what I was hoping to show. The sheer authority that this woman speaks fearlessly because she knows her rights. Once you know your rights, there's nothing this corporation can do to you except step out of the way. As we take our country back and seize the reins of control, what do we want, American Indians? What kind of country do we want? Well, I would think we want one where all Americans know who we are, right? And who are we? We're the people that this corporation found here before the corporation ever existed. We were here before the Maya, before the Hopi. We were here before the Mongols. That's who we are. And that's what all Americans need to know. That's what the whole world needs to know. And America will be in her rightful place once that happens. It's supposed to. It's like the corporation has made it as if it's a horrible thing for Americans to own their birthright land. Like we really need them to run it for us with a little help from the Pope, right? We need a daddy, right? No, we don't. Especially one like that. I don't know well, I do know what God they serve. Yeah, actually, yeah, I do. And let's just say it's not the one you think. Okay, this would not happen this way. We would not be denationalized if God was in this. And I don't care what you think you heard or what you were told. Losing your identity is no way of correcting a people. Having your identity taken from you is no legitimate or benevolent God would ever do that. If your identity is taken from you, how do you even know what you did wrong? So how can you be corrected? You must always have your identity. The only kind of entity that would seek to take your identity is the one who's coming to rob and steal from you, like the corporation does, and give that identity. If my identity was so sinful, then why is it even being passed around and given to somebody else? You know, my land would be cursed if I was cursed. My land would be cursed. So therefore, I am not cursed, nor am I a sinner, because the land I stand on, your funky ass wants. Okay? So yeah, that's how that goes. That's how that goes. The land becomes cursed when the people are cursed. But you see, America is not cursed. America is very wealthy, as a matter of fact, much more than Africa. And if anything, from the way Africa looks to me, that looks more like a curse. And I just have to say it how I feel it. Sorry. I'm going to talk with some authority like this woman does. As an American Indian, what I see of Africa, it looks like a curse to me. It looks like those are the people that God may have an issue with. And they didn't lose their identity, did they? You have to know what you did, know who you are to be corrected, right? From what you did. So there we have it. And let's continue. Fair use. Any minute. Go on, Anna.
Our friends in Australia are getting organized. We all have to get organized. Our friends in Canada are also getting organized. Mr. Trudeau will not survive this. Nor will any of the other petty despots and corporate officials. That's already been decided.
We're ready, Anna.
I know you are. And we are in the process of tearing the banks apart. We will continue to tear them apart until they come to heel and do what's right. So, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of anything. Don't be afraid of the death of the US dollar, because it was never your dollar anyway. It was nothing but a military scrip with all of the validity of monopoly money. And as for the military, they need to do their duty by the people of this country without any further wishy-washy, without any question, without any following along in the wake of the politicians, because get a clue, fellas, politicians are lobbyists. They are not deputies of the people. They have no specific authority, and they've been raiding the public purse while you've been standing there with your thumbs up your butts. So it is time for the military to recognize the actual government of this country, to realize that the members of the Congress have not been acting in an appropriate, and they have not been acting as the Congress. They have been acting as a Congress.
And without fiduciary responsibility.
Right. I am to date the only fiduciary in the next few days, there's going to be some very interesting information released. I hope that you're all tuned in. I hope that you're all ready to read something of probably 12 to 15 pages of information that will be very interesting. And I do hope that you will find it in yourselves to have courage and to stay calm in the midst of what can only be described as rats leaving the sinking ship. Bear in mind that our ship of state is just fine. Bear in mind that our assets are just fine. It's their ship that's sinking. It's their rats trying to escape. So don't allow these external circumstances and all this horrible news headlines. It's all just calculated to make you afraid. And it's all just calculated to create more chaos and more
Chaos.
Make people lose their heads, make people, scurry around like cockroaches in a dark cellar. Have more dignity than that. Make up your mind that you're going to get through this. We're all going to get through this. And it will be a better, brighter day when these evil men and these corrupt institutions are put aside and a new world can come forward in honesty and in peace.
With the American Indians revealed.
So, Terry, I know that many people have been very concerned. They want a response to the murder of an innocent young man at a traffic stop. It is my understanding that this happened in New Mexico.
Well, we've really been digging into it, especially those on the litigation call, and it has all the hallmarks. It actually did take place in Utah. There is a name Farmington, Utah, but it has all the hallmarks of a false flag. And supposedly he was killed almost 3 in 2017 or 2019. So there is a lot of shenanigans around the whole thing, and the more we dig, there's no substance, and so it looks like it's deliberately designed to promote a false narrative around what you had stated earlier, a sovereign citizen, which doesn't even exist.
Right.
And secondarily, to provide a narrative around people who are claiming a right to travel, which the Supreme Court, of course, has already ruled on several occasions. And on top of it, the issue of a placard versus having a corporate license plate. And I think it also is trying to throw shade on our efforts.
Well, no American should be threatened by any police force ever.
Nope.
There is no possible traffic violation to justify anyone being endangered. I don't care if your brake lights are all out and you're weaving down the road like a crazy person. As long as you're not endangering anyone. And there should not be the kind of violence attached to traffic stops. Ever.
Never. But it looks
So-
like it was all staged. I think they were all actors.
We see a great deal of this.
Yeah,
Expect when the Bar Association is a theater company.
right.
It's time for them to be totally discredited and thrown out.
Yep.
And we all need to, just belly up and say, okay, judge. The Bar Association is a theater and entertainment company, and we are no longer entertained. It's time for you to vacate our shores and go. And
Exactly.
the faster we set
Sound
up our
like
own
she's sending
courts
them packing.
and tell them to boot, the better.
Yep. It looks like Minnesota will be sending out their ex parte notices soon.
God bless them forever. You're doing exactly what needs to be done. And now we need to also fully inform the Judge Advocate General.
Mhm.
Now they are responsible. They're the ones that set up this entire kangaroo court system back in 1865. They're the ones that are liable for its malfunctions,
1865,
and it's time
I
they
believe,
got it.
was when the United States citizen was created. And civil rights.
Nail boots, boys. It's time they really heard it from the people.
Exactly.
Well, something.
Yeah.
I'm going to send out a history of the courts so that you can all see exactly when they did this, how they did it, why they did it, what the rationale for it was, and how unjust this entire system has been the last 150 years.
Well, with the financial aspect as well, each and every judge is operating in treason.
Each and every
Yes,
judge.
well, they're all collecting a percentage. They're all getting kickbacks for every case that they find against the plaintiffs. They're getting a percentage. It's a filthy business. It's a filthy system. It is nothing that we never approved any of this.
And it's not a
So-
court. It's not justice.
No, it has nothing to do with justice. So it's time for them all to be booted out.
She's sending them packing, it sounds like.
And it's time for us to liquidate as many corporations as we need to liquidate to get their attention. If it takes 4,000 of them down the drain, then that's what it takes. And DOD is the first on the list, as far as I'm concerned. Any organization that thinks that it's their business to kill their employers needs to have their heads screwed on. And those of you who are here tonight, join your assembly. You have peaceful, lawful means to put an end to all of this, but you must work together, and you must work with common cause and determination. You must educate yourselves and your families, your friends, your business associates. It's our responsibility to self-govern. No one can do it for us. And I'm going to leave you with that thought. In terms of the fate of the municipality of Washington, D.C., I think it should be destroyed. I think that the members of Congress need to be held accountable for their failure. Those that have stepped forward as honest volunteers, God bless them. Those who think that they're going to continue business as usual, death to all defenders. This country needs to get back on its feet. We have the friendship of most other nations. It is most gratifying to me and to the members of the Federation that many other nations recognize the evil that we have dealt with here. And they are understanding. They understand now that it's not the Americans doing all this evil. They understand now that our country has been commandeered by our own employees. And we have their sympathy and their support.
How often
Many other
do we hear that?
nations are already gathering, and they are determined to assist us in cleaning this entire mess up. So we are not alone. And that is a very important and comforting fact as we go forward.
Exactly. And Anna, I think we also wanted to make another announcement tonight regarding our latest committee called the American Council Team.
The idea behind the American Council Team is extremely well considered. We have wonderful people, we have great skills, and we have an ever-increasing skill bank, if you will, of people that have spectacular abilities in various professional areas. And the team will allow those individuals who have these skills to share and multiply those skills on a national basis. The assemblies will have access to these experts, and they will be able to get assistance that they need. So it should be looked at as basically a skill bank, where the assemblies that do not say they don't have a fiscal manager. Well, now you can turn to the task force, the organization that has been set up for this, and you can get help.
Exactly.
That's the entire idea behind it.
Right. And we will also be a resource to the Federation as well as to the assemblies. And on, if I may, I'll just quickly go through the primary areas of focus right now. Number one is communication. Number two is litigation and courts, our courts. 3 is technology. 4 is education and outreach. 5 is banking. 6 is leadership training. And 7 is peacekeeping, our peacekeeping task force. And then there will be subcommittees below that. And we've established goals for the next 12 months. For the first 3 months, we have probably 6 of our 8 deliverables already complete.
Great. We have a lot on our plates.
Yes, and we're ready. We are excited and ready. Now, I would also love to get an update on our fundraising activities, because we're trying to raise that $200,000 for the trip to the Vatican and then bringing back assets.
Right. Well, we have very considerable assistance has been offered. I do believe that we have enough for the actual trip and send our delegation. The paperwork is nearing completion. The status of the entire effort, of course, is an ongoing struggle, because until we gain full and free access to our own assets, we are dependent on what we can scrape together among ourselves. However, I have been recently advised that 2 out of 3 different initiatives that we've begun over the last 6 months are in the final stages of organizational approvals and the return of our money. So hopefully we will soon see the fruit of our labor.
Well, for those of us who have been scraping together, where are we at? Are we third of the way, halfway?
I would say we are about a third of the way.
Okay.
And we've done very well. I'm very proud of everybody. You know, the generosity and strength and courage of the American people is always a inspiring well to drink from. We have not gone without anything that we absolutely needed. And one way or another, we have been able to overcome those challenges that have reared their ugly heads, so that one way or another, hook or by crook, we have managed to provide safe storage. We have managed to find the information that we needed, and we have managed to find the friendship to succeed in the face of otherwise very daunting circumstances.
That's fantastic. That's wonderful news. Good. Well, I know we're going to call it a short night tonight, but thank you so much for wanting. I mean, Anna was insistent on coming on for the evening, and I know it has brought a lot of joy to everyone who follows you regularly on the webinars and participates regularly. And so, Anna, I just want you to know we're sending our love and our healing energy to you. And of course, always our gratitude.
As well, I know I look like I'm half dead here, but I'm actually on the comeback trail, folks.
You look fantastic. You look wonderful.
I think I will end it here. They're just signing off. This is what we American Indians, this is what we have to contend with on our land. Look at how this group of people are looking at the government that has oppressed us from day one. And they're not cowering to it. They're not catering to it. She just said all the courts and all the judges, what did she say? They're all committing fraud. And I think a lot of our people still really do see this government as daddy. And they're not. They have gone above and beyond their duties. She spoke a little bit about what Congress, you know, with the over 300 agencies, when they only had 19 functions that we keep talking about. And now, you know, they've taken it upon themselves. And she says, we have to pay for that. You know, they expect us to pay for that, but we didn't ask you to do that. Again, we didn't even ask you to sit in those seats all year round, keeping those seats warm. We didn't ask you to do that. This is a free country, and we need you to go, instead of trying to monitor us, just enjoy your freedoms instead of trying to take ours. Oh, but they do get to enjoy the money, don't they? They get to enjoy being above the law, don't they? How many of you think that Trump is going to jail? You're living in a dream fantasy world. He ain't going to nobody's jail. He is not going. They do not go by the same. They are basically working for a monarchy, and they will always get some kind of, I don't know what to call it. You work for someone who has usurped our authority. So they're not putting you in jail. You're working for them, and you're doing a great job at keeping us at odds with each other, fighting over the stupid stuff while they count the dollars. And you know, one indigenous woman made a point. I forgot who it was. This is so far beyond money now. They don't need our money. They already took our gold, but maybe back in 19, what was it, 33 or so, something like that, when they outlawed gold and said that if you are caught with gold, you'll be seen as hoarding and you could get a fine or go to jail if you don't send your gold to the feds so they can give you Federal Reserve notes, which were supposed to discharge your debt, but they decided, nah, let's keep on charging them for the debt. Though they were supposed to discharge all of your debts after they took your gold. This is how fraudulent and greedy this entity is. But as I was going to say, someone pointed out it's not even about the gold at this point. They have all of that. So what is it about? It's some kind of soul harvesting going on. There's some kind of soul energy being siphoned off of us at this point. It's about it reminds me of the adrenochrome thing where they made a drug out of basically frightened children. So I don't even like to talk about it, but I briefly mentioned it in a early video. The drug that was very popular among the elite celebrities, sports figures. It was called adrenochrome, and it was some kind of like a rush drug, you know, like a drug that gave you this high because it was formulated from the adrenaline from frightening children. Isn't that kind of like the most horrible thing you could imagine? So I'm likening the kind of energy ciphering that's going on with adrenochrome. It's some kind of, whereas adrenochrome, it is a physical thing made from basically the adrenaline in the frightened children's blood that ingested as a drug. It's a high. But what's going on with us is high level. It's spiritual, and it is fear based, I think, or trauma based. So it's like loosh, you know, it's like a form of loosh. that some sickos are feeding off of in some spiritual energy kind of way. In other words, it's not even necessary, but it's just, one, if you have all the gold in the world, you have all the real anything of value, what more do you need? What can you take from a human being or from an American Indian? I think a lot of our blood has been taken through the blood drive. And I think our blood has been taken to make other people part of our bloodline, by some kind of transfusion of some sort, where you can say, oh, everybody is entitled to these American Indians' birthright through a little bit of what do you call it, genetic manipulation or science lab shenanigans, So now, like, everybody's type O, suddenly, and I just don't see how that's possible. I just don't see how, unless it's been genetically done, you know. So anyway, she's speaking, large scale, other nations are involved. She mentioned Australia. So this operation, I just feel we have a lot to catch up to, because we don't really want to be lost in this and have our identity still hidden, where perhaps even a state national could look at us as if we came after them, as, slaves from Africa. So once they are made aware of who we are, I do believe we should be able to work much more effectively as a united front with all the expertise and knowledge of the system that Anna has and the birthright that we Indians have. We'd be unstoppable against any entity on the land, you know? So generally, it would require us no longer looking at statutes or Supreme Court judgments. It would be more studying the 1787 Constitution and studying our Bill of Rights, knowing what real sovereignty looks like and what it really is. That's what our focus should be, not the statutes, because then we are not under the statute. So what sense does it make to quote them, We have to let the corporation know that we are above those statutes. We are not little corporate entities. We are men and women of the land. And the corporation has committed basically, what is it, inland piracy by reclassifying all Americans into United States citizens. So I wanted to say what we want. One of the things that occurred to me was we want to let the corporation know that we only stand on the laws of the land. We do not waiver our law of the land. We don't waiver those rights for, like a commercial code or or a uniform commercial code or New York codes and statutes. No, that's not for men and women. That's for corporate entities. So what are the things we might ask? Or it's not even asking, it's demanding a return of our proper status as men and women who gave you the Constitution to go by. The first Constitution. So that would be one of the major things that the corporation would have to realize, is that we're not coming in with your statutes. We're above those. We're coming in as your boss, and we have not been happy with your services. That's how we approach this corporation. The same way Anna's doing it, except we have the fullest authority to do it. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you for watching. Till next time, peace, love, joy, happiness, health, wealth, your land back, your identity back, all the good things. Stay blissed.